Kevin Turner had moved to the farmhouse outside Knoxville because he was tired of people. Not in a bitter way, just in the quiet, reasonable way of a 28-year-old who had spent 3 years in a downtown Nashville office and slowly realized the noise and crowds were grinding something down inside him he couldn't afford to lose. He was a graphic designer. He could work from anywhere, so he found anywhere. A 2-bedroom farmhouse on 4 acres off Route 11. Nearest neighbor half a mile down the road, nearest anything a comfortable distance away. He had been here 8 months and he loved every quiet second of it. His girlfriend Stephanie stayed 4 nights a week and kept her Knoxville apartment for the other 3. It worked. They had figured it out the way people who genuinely liked each other eventually did. So when Stephanie left Monday morning to spend the week with her parents in Nashville, her father had just had knee surgery, Kevin kissed her goodbye at the door, watched her taillights disappear down the gravel driveway, and went back inside feeling nothing but comfortable, uncomplicated peace. That was Monday. The boot prints appeared Tuesday morning. Kevin came downstairs just after 7 and opened the front door to check the temperature. He looked out at the porch and stopped. Boot prints, the deep, clear impression of a heavy boot sole in the thin frost on the porch boards. They came from the porch steps and crossed the porch and stopped at the front door. Just stopped, right at the threshold. He looked out at the driveway. The gravel was too hard to hold prints. The yard beyond was patchy with old crusted snow, no tracks leading to or from the house. Just the prints on the porch, appearing from nowhere, stopping at his door. He told himself it was a delivery driver. He checked his phone. No missed delivery notifications. He looked at the prints one more time. Then he went inside and made his coffee and got to work. Wednesday morning, the prints were back. Fresh ones, overlapping the old ones. Same heavy sole, same path across the porch, same abrupt stop at the threshold, as if whoever had stood there had simply ceased to exist at the exact point where outside became inside. He went back inside and checked his security camera app. A single outdoor camera above the front door pointed down the driveway. Motion activated, night vision, 30-day cloud storage. The footage from the previous night was gone. Not just a clip, the entire recording between 11 p.m. and 3 a.m. was absent. A clean 4-hour gap, the timestamp jumping from 10:58 p.m. directly to 3:04 a.m., as if those hours had never existed. He checked the night before, same gap, 11 to 3, gone. He told himself the camera lost connection when the temperature dropped, a known issue with the model. Cold weather, lost signal, simple. He sent Stephanie a voice message about the glitching camera. She messaged back saying she had no idea and to call the company. 3 laughing emojis. He did not mention the boot prints. Thursday, he found the handprint. Late afternoon, gray February light coming flat through the front windows. He was making coffee when something on the glass caught his eye. He walked over and looked close and felt his stomach drop. A handprint on the outside of the glass, pressed into the frost on the exterior. 4 fingers, a thumb, a full palm, the print of a hand no bigger than a child's, small and delicate and perfectly clear. He pressed his own hand against the inside of the glass. The print outside was half the size of his, a child's hand without question. He looked out at the yard. Nothing. Patchy snow undisturbed, no footprints in the frost below the window. The window was 8 feet off the ground. He stood with his coffee mug and looked at that small handprint for a very long time and could not construct a single explanation that made him feel better. He locked every door that night, every window, checked them twice, told himself he was a 28-year-old man spooked by frost patterns and camera glitches and boot prints that almost certainly had an explanation he hadn't thought of yet.
He was asleep by 11. He woke at midnight exactly. Not gradually. He went from completely unconscious to completely awake in less than a second. Eyes open, body rigid, staring at the ceiling. 3 knocks on the front door. Slow, deliberate, evenly spaced. The knock of someone not in a hurry, and not afraid of being heard. Then silence. He got up, took his phone, went downstairs, and stood at the front door with his hand on the deadbolt. He stood there a long moment with his ear close to the door. Nothing on the other side. He went to the living room window and looked out at the porch. Empty. Nobody there. He went back to bed and lay awake until morning. Friday night, he didn't try to sleep. He sat at his desk in the dark with his phone in his hand and waited. At 11 p.m., he opened the camera app and watched the live feed. Driveway, yard, the edge of the tree line. Nothing moved. At 11:01, the feed went dark. Camera offline. He called Stephanie. 6 rings. Voicemail. Texted her. No response. At midnight, the 3 knocks came again. Kevin went downstairs, stood at the front door, turned the deadbolt, and pulled it open. Nobody there. The porch was empty, the yard still and pale under the clouded sky. February cold pressed immediately against his face. He looked down at the porch boards, fresh prints in the frost, same heavy boot sole, same path from the steps to the door. He followed them with his eyes back across the yard toward the tree line. A clear trail coming from the trees to his porch, and beside it, heading back in the opposite direction, a second set of prints returning toward the tree line. He stepped off the porch and crouched down and looked at the second set with his phone flashlight. The prints were backwards, toes pointing toward the house while the prints moved away from it. Whatever made them had walked backward into the darkness, slowly, deliberately, facing his front door the entire way back to the trees. Kevin straightened and looked at the tree line. Black trunks, darkness between them, nothing visible. He went inside, locked the door, and called Stephanie again. Voicemail, 3 texts, nothing. At 3 a.m., his phone buzzed. Security camera back online. He opened the app. The camera was no longer pointed down the driveway. Someone had moved it, repositioned it completely to face back toward the house, pointed directly at the front door from the porch steps. Low angle, close, the way someone would hold a camera crouching on the steps, looking up. In the center of the frame, lit in flat gray night vision, was the front door, and standing in front of it was a figure, still, facing the camera, not moving. Kevin looked at the timestamp. Live, happening right now. He looked up from his phone at the front door 10 feet away. 3 knocks. The footprints walking backwards toward the tree line. What do you think was out there in the dark? That final moment, figure on the camera, 3 knocks, 10 feet from the door. What do you think Kevin did next? If those 3 knocks just crawled under your skin, you know what to do. Hit that like button, subscribe so you never miss a new story, and share this with someone brave enough to watch alone in the dark. Drop your answer in the comments below. We read every single one. Chloe Harris had been looking forward to this week for longer than she could honestly remember. It wasn't that she didn't love her family. She loved them completely. Her husband, Derek, her 8-year-old daughter, Lily, her 6-year-old son, Jake. She loved the noise and the chaos and the crayon drawings stuck to the refrigerator with alphabet magnets. But 8 months of back-to-back shifts at Edward Elmhurst Hospital had ground her down to something thin and frayed. She couldn't remember the last time she had sat in a quiet room and heard absolutely nothing. So when Derek mentioned his conference in Dallas and her mother offered to take the kids for the week, Chloe had said yes before either of them finished their sentences. Derek flew out Sunday. Her mother drove up from Rockford Monday morning, bundled both kids into her old Buick, and by noon, the house on Birchwood Court in Naperville was completely, perfectly silent. Chloe stood in her kitchen and just breathed. Outside, the neighborhood looked the way it always did in late February. Not quite winter anymore, but nowhere close to spring. The snow was still on the ground, gray and crusted at the edges. The sky was that flat, pale color unique to late Midwestern winter. Nobody was outside. The whole street had that sealed-off, hibernating feeling, every house curtained and closed against the cold. She had simple plans for the week. Selfish, perfect plans. Sleep past 7, long baths, eat whatever she wanted, drink wine on a Tuesday night without guilt. By Tuesday evening, she was fully settled. Now it was close to 9:30 and the house was warm and quiet. The television murmured low. Her wine glass sat half full on the coffee table. Peanut, her 3-year-old golden retriever, was stretched across the rug with his chin resting on her ankle. Outside, the wind had come up, that low, pressing moan February winds made in Illinois, finding every gap and crack and pushing through them. The house creaked the way old houses did in the cold. She knew every sound this house made. She had lived here 5 years. None of it bothered her. She was halfway through a show she was only half watching when Peanut lifted his head, just his chin coming off her ankle, his ears shifting forward. He was staring at the kitchen doorway with his whole body perfectly still in that way dogs had when something caught their attention that humans couldn't detect. "What is it, Peanut?" she said. He didn't look at her. His eyes stayed fixed on the doorway, unblinking. "It's nothing, baby. Lie down." He lowered his chin slowly, but his eyes didn't close. She was not going to do this. She was not going to be the woman alone in the house who spooked herself over a dog staring at a doorway. She was a nurse. She was practical. She did not frighten easily. 20 minutes later, she got up to refill her wine. She pushed through the kitchen door and stopped. The back door was open. Not wide, maybe 3 inches, just enough to let a thin blade of February air cut across the kitchen floor. She felt it immediately on her bare feet, that specific cold with real weight behind it, pressing up through the linoleum and wrapping around her ankles. She always locked the back door. It was automatic. She was certain she had locked it tonight, wasn't she? She crossed the kitchen, pushed it firmly shut, turned the deadbolt, and pressed her palm flat against it. She looked out through the small window. The backyard was dark beyond the porch light, gray crusted snow, the wooden fence, the bare oak tree moving in the wind. Nothing out there. The wind had pushed it open. She must not have pulled it fully shut when she let Peanut out after dinner. That was all, perfectly reasonable. She poured her wine and turned to go back, and that was when she saw the chair. She always pushed the kitchen chairs in after meals. She had eaten her soup standing at the counter tonight. She had not sat at the table at all. The chair at the far end, the one facing the kitchen doorway, was pulled out about 10 inches. Chloe stared at it for a long, still moment. Then she grabbed her phone and went through every room on the ground floor with the flashlight on. Every closet, behind every door. Living room, dining room, the front office, the half bathroom, the laundry room. Nothing. Empty. She stood at the bottom of the stairs and looked up into the dark hallway. She turned on every light she could reach, called Peanut. He pressed against her leg and they went upstairs together. Both kids' rooms, the master bedroom, the hall bathroom, the guest room. She pulled down the attic stairs and held her flashlight into the dark opening for a slow count of 10. Empty. All empty.
She told herself she had sat at the table during her phone call with Renee and simply didn't remember. She was exhausted. It meant nothing. She locked the bedroom door, got into bed, and turned the lamp on low. Peanut jumped up onto the foot of the bed. Tonight, she let him stay. She read 4 pages before realizing she hadn't absorbed a single word. She set the book down, turned off the lamp, and lay in the dark listening to the wind. She was almost asleep when Peanut stood up. She felt it through the mattress, the sudden shift from relaxed and heavy to completely rigid in less than a second. She opened her eyes.
He was standing at the foot of the bed facing the bedroom door, motionless, a sound building low in his chest that was not quite a growl, something quieter, something more afraid. Chloe sat up slowly. The hallway light cast a steady yellow line under the door, except it wasn't steady anymore. There was a shadow in it, a specific, unmistakable shape, the broken shadow of 2 feet standing, completely still, directly on the other side of her bedroom door. Someone was standing in the hallway. She did not scream. She slid off the far side of the bed in total silence, pulling Peanut down with her, pressing into the narrow space between the bed and the wall. She dialed 911 with fingers shaking so badly she misdialed the first time. She whispered, barely sound, barely breath. She gave the address on Birchwood Court. She gave her name. The dispatcher told her a unit was on its way. She watched the shadow under the door. It did not move. It did not shift or pace or try the handle. It simply stood there in complete silence. 11 minutes. She counted. She had nothing else to do but count and breathe and keep Peanut pressed against her and watch that shadow and try not to think about what was attached to it. When she heard the knock on the front door, the officers told her to stay put while they cleared the house. She heard them move through the downstairs, up the stairs, through the hall. The shadow under the door was gone. She couldn't say exactly when it disappeared. It had simply ceased to be there. The officers cleared every room, every closet, the attic, the basement, the full perimeter outside. One of them checked the snow along the fence line with his flashlight. Nothing, no one, no footprints, no signs of entry. A female officer named Garrett sat with Chloe in the kitchen and talked quietly about old houses in the cold, about shadows from passing headlights, about the mind constructing patterns when a person was overtired and alone. She said it without condescension, and Chloe could tell she genuinely believed it. Chloe nodded and thanked them both when they left. She did not go back to bed. She sat on the couch with every light on and Peanut in her lap and watched the windows until the sky slowly changed from black to the flat gray of early morning. The street was empty. Nothing moved. At 6:51, her phone buzzed. Unknown number, just 11 digits, no text, only a photograph. The angle was strange, slightly elevated, looking downward, with narrow, dark vertical lines crossing the image at regular intervals, like looking through slats, like looking through the gaps in a louvered door. Her closet door had louvers. The bedroom closet she had never opened during her search, the one door she had not checked. In the center of the photograph, lit by the glow of phone screen, a woman was crouched in the narrow space between the bed and the wall, knees pulled up, one hand pressed to her mouth, eyes wide and fixed on the bedroom door. The woman was Chloe. The timestamp read 12:04 a.m., the exact minute she had been hiding, whispering to the dispatcher, watching the shadow under the door. 3 feet away from her, on the other side of the closet door, someone had been standing in the dark, watching her the entire time, and the door between them had never been locked. The figure stood completely still outside her bedroom door for 11 minutes without ever trying to get in. What do you think it was waiting for? If you woke up and found that photo on your phone, what would be the very first thing you would do? Ryan Callahan had always been the kind of man who needed a project. He wasn't good at doing nothing, never had been. His wife Dana teased him about it constantly, the way he filled every quiet weekend with some task, reorganizing the garage or regrouting the bathroom tile, or spending 3 hours researching the best way to weather strip a door. She called it his curse. He called it being productive. So when Dana left for Phoenix on a Monday morning, 10 days visiting her sister Karen, who had just had a baby, Ryan had made himself a list. Grade the stack of junior history papers on the dining room table, fix the loose cabinet hinge in the kitchen, catch up on sleep. Simple, manageable. He drove her to Austin Bergstrom, kissed her at the departures curb, and drove home to the townhouse on Salerno Court with the radio on and absolutely no sense that anything in his life was about to come apart. That was Monday. By Thursday, something felt wrong. He couldn't explain it precisely, nothing solid enough to hold up and examine, just a feeling that had settled over the townhouse Wednesday evening and refused to leave. A low, persistent unease, the way a room feels different when someone has recently been in it, that subtle shift in the air the body registers before the mind catches up. He noticed the cabinet first. The cabinet above the coffee maker was open Tuesday morning when he came downstairs. He closed it without thinking. Must have left it open the night before. He was tired. He hadn't been sleeping well since Dana left. Wednesday morning, it was open again. He was certain he had closed it. He specifically remembered reaching up and pushing it shut before turning off the kitchen light. Didn't he? He closed it again and told himself he was imagining things. Thursday night, he was at the dining room table working through a stack of papers when he heard it. Footsteps. Not loud, not heavy. The soft, careful creak of someone moving slowly across the floor directly below him. The guest room sat above the dining room. He knew exactly what that floorboard sounded like, a specific pitch, a particular voice, and he was hearing it now at 11 o'clock at night while he sat alone in his own house. He sat completely still, with his red pen hovering over a student's paper, and listened. Silence. He waited 2 full minutes. Nothing. Old townhouses made noise, he knew that. The buildings settled, the pipes expanded and contracted, the floors creaked for no reason at all. He had lived here 4 years. He knew all the sounds this place made. He went back to grading, but he left the dining room light on when he went to bed, which was something he never did. Thursday morning, he opened the refrigerator and stood with the door wide and felt something cold move through his chest that had nothing to do with the temperature. He had bought groceries Sunday before Dana left, a full shop, eggs, lunch meat, cheese, a container of leftover pasta Dana had made Friday night. He had barely touched any of it. The pasta was gone, not just eaten, the container itself was gone entirely. 2 eggs missing from the carton, a block of cheddar reduced by nearly a third, the plastic wrap pressed carefully back into place like someone had tried to hide it. He told himself he had eaten it and forgotten. Stress eating, bad sleep. He told himself there was a rational explanation for all of it, and that the explanation was him. He called Dana. She answered, happy and breathless, a newborn crying somewhere in the background. He almost told her, had the words ready, something feels wrong in the house, but her voice was so normal and untouched by whatever had settled over him that he couldn't say it. It would sound insane. He told her he missed her. She said she missed him too. He hung up and sat in the kitchen with his coffee going cold and listened to the house. Just quiet. That night he woke at 2 in the morning for no reason he could name. He lay in the dark, staring at the ceiling. The street outside was silent. Late February in Austin had that particular dead quiet. No insects, no open windows, just the occasional distant car. Then he heard it. Breathing.
Right outside the bedroom door, slow and close, the specific rhythm of someone standing completely still in a confined space. In, out, in, out. Barely audible, but absolutely real, absolutely on the other side of his door. Ryan did not move. He lay flat and rigid and listened to someone breathe in his hallway. Then it stopped. Not footsteps retreating, no sound of movement at all. It simply stopped, the way a sound stopped when the person making it realized they needed to be more careful. He did not sleep again that night.
Friday morning, he went to the bathroom to splash cold water on his face and stopped in the doorway. The mirror was fogged. Not from steam, he hadn't showered, hadn't run any hot water, but it was fogged the way it fogged after a long hot shower, thick condensation clinging to the glass, and pressed into the center of the fog, 4 fingers and a partial palm, a handprint from inside the shower. He looked at the shower. The glass door was closed. The floor was wet. Not damp, wet. Water still pooled in the corners, the drain still trickling clear. He backed into the hallway. The guest room door at the end of the hall was closed. It was always closed. He hadn't been in that room since Dana left. He walked toward it slowly, put his hand on the knob, and opened it. Empty. Bed made. Curtains closed. The flat feeling of a room nobody had been in. He looked at the closet door on the far wall. He crossed the room and opened it. For a moment, he couldn't process what he was seeing. Dana's off-season clothes had been shoved hard to the left to make room. On the right side, arranged with a careful neatness that made his skin crawl, were things that did not belong. A dark green sleeping bag on the closet floor, a backpack against the wall, 2 changes of clothes folded on the shelf, gray sweatshirt, dark jeans, a pair of socks, 3 empty food wrappers pressed flat and stacked in the corner, a phone charger plugged into the outlet inside the closet, and on top of the backpack, a small spiral notebook. His hand was shaking when he picked it up. Small, neat handwriting, dated entries going back 9 days, back to the day after Dana left. Tuesday, he came home at 4:15, graded papers until 10, went to bed at 10:43. Wednesday, he heard me, stayed very still. He convinced himself it was the house. Thursday, he noticed the food. He called her. He almost said something. Friday, he didn't sleep. He's getting closer. The last entry was from the previous night. He's standing in the hallway right now. Ryan dropped the notebook and ran. He grabbed his keys and his phone and left through the front door without closing it and drove to a Hampton Inn off the interstate and paid cash for a room and sat on the edge of the bed with every light blazing and called 911 with hands that would not stop shaking. The officers called back an hour later, cleared the townhouse completely, every room, every closet, the attic, the storage space under the stairs, no one there. No sleeping bag, no backpack, no notebook. The closet had Dana's off-season clothes exactly where they were supposed to be. No signs of forced entry. Ryan sat with the phone against his ear and said nothing. He was still on the edge of the bed at midnight, still dressed, every light still on, when his phone buzzed. Dana's number. 4 words. You shouldn't have looked. He called her immediately. She answered, groggy and confused. Phoenix, our sister's guest room, asleep for 3 hours. She hadn't sent anything. She didn't know what he was talking about. Ryan looked at the message on his screen, sent from Dana's number, time-stamped 40 seconds ago. He looked at the hotel room door, deadbolted, chain latched, checked 4 times. Then he looked at the bathroom door. It was closed. He was certain he had left it open. Ryan dismissed every warning sign with a rational explanation. The cabinet, the footsteps, the missing food. At what point would you have stopped making excuses and trusted your instincts? Someone had been living inside Ryan's home for 9 days, sleeping down the hall, eating his food, watching his every move. What do you think they were waiting for? That final moment, the bathroom door closed when he left it open. What do you think Ryan found on the other side? If this story made you want to check every closet in your house right now, you know exactly what to do. Hit that like button, subscribe, and share this with someone who's home alone tonight. Drop your answer to one of those questions in the comments.